Hi, I'm Danny Black with another edition of Hobby News Daily Hot Corner. I'm joined by my friend Dan Lorber from StadiumInsurance.com. How are you doing, Dan?
Good, good. How you doing today?
I'm good. My kids are out of school, so I'm exhausted. I don't know. Somehow, winter break is more tiring on the parents, I think.
100%. I appreciate you having me on right now. I was able to get the kids out of the house for a few hours.
Yeah, well, we were talking, and all our kids are all about the same age, so maybe we just got to get them, to hang out with each other, so you and I can play with sports memorabilia cards.
There you go. There you go.
You and I met about a year ago. We met at the Mint out in Vegas, and you were up to something.
Yeah, no.
You're up to something. And I want to say before we get into it that I know that there are other insurance products on the market, but what I found fascinating was how specialized this really was and what you've been able to do to the actual hobby collector. So, can you introduce Stadium Insurance and then talk about your background and why this is so tailored?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is I've been in the insurance business for over 30 years. I was an insurance agent, built a gigantic insurance agency, sold it about 3 years ago, but I've been a collector longer than that. And over the years, all my buddies in the hobby would ask me, how to protect their collection and what insurance companies are out there that protect. And there's a big misconception that it's covered under your homeowners insurance. And the other carriers that offer products for sports memorabilia really don't have a grip on the need of the modern day collector. So what we did was we built a direct-to-consumer product. So there's no agents in there that are getting cuts on
That's actually a great point you brought up. Will you explain in the insurance industry how the typical setup is with a carrier, an agent, and then the policy holder?
Sure. So typically, like homeowners insurance and auto insurance, you call your local, State Farm agent, Allstate agent, or you call Geico, and you deal with an agent, and the agent walks you through the process. But people forget those agents are getting commissions, and you have to contact them anytime you want to make a change to the policy, whether you want to add a car or take off a car or increase your coverage limits. So everything goes through a broker or an agent. What we did is we eliminated the middleman and we built a direct-to-consumer product, and we've empowered the hobbyist or the collector to simply go to our website and obtain a quote, and then download our mobile app where they can add and remove items as they build their collections. As you know, we all buy and sell and trade collectibles. So in the palm of their hand, they can actually go ahead and get coverage immediately. So like I was saying, if you're at the National, you pick up that $25,000 card that your wife allowed you to buy. While you're right there on the spot, you can open up our mobile app, take a picture of the front and back of that card and any authentication, and have it covered in minutes. So while you're flying home, or you're putting your cards in your room at night and going out and party after the National, you have that peace of mind that that item's covered.
The turnaround time is unbelievable. I mean, there are other quality companies out there that, this isn't about knocking other companies. It's what you're doing very well. And I would assume that the advance in technology, obviously, opened a door that might not have existed 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So at what point did you realize the technology was there for you to be able to connect it with the insurance?
Right. So the bottom line is, when we were talking to collectors want to make sure that the product was simple to use and affordable. But with technology nowadays, I mean, all of us collectors, we buy and sell on eBay or on forums or post pictures on Instagram or other social media. There's no reason that we couldn't build a product where, we're already able to upload videos and photos to other platforms. Why couldn't we just build an insurance product that does that? It eliminates any of the gray area. You know exactly what you have covered at any minute. You can go into our mobile app. You can see your collection and add and remove items. Like I said, we made it very simple. And again, you don't have to show us every item that you own up front. The way our product is built is you go into the mobile app, you select the amount of coverage you're looking for, the value of your collection. Let's say you choose a $100,000 limit. If you choose that limit, any item that exceeds 10% of that coverage limit, so in that case, it would be $10,000, we would just require those items that exceed $10,000 to have photos of the front and back and any authentication. So those are the only items that are listed. As part of the onboarding process, however, we do make you take a video of your collection just to give us a general idea as to the scope of your collection. Again, you don't have to have everything in the video, but we just want to see that you do have a large size collection that warrants that limit of coverage you're looking for.
No, absolutely. And that's commonplace in insurance. You know, I wish I could insure my Bill Ripken error card for $3 million. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
I do brokering, I do sales, I work with other companies, so I see all the sides of this. What is the most common misconception between the homeowners insurance and the specialized product? Because I think that is something that I say, you know, when I talk to people about having good coverage, that I know you say all the time. But what is the actual difference?
So what happens is on the homeowner's policy, usually there's a sub limit where your cards may only be covered up to, in most cases, $1,000. It would be subject to your homeowner's deductible in a lot of cases. So you may have a $500, $1,000, or a $2,500 deductible. And then the other thing is if you put a claim in on that policy, it could affect the renewability or the premium on your homeowner's policy. We feel it's better to deal with a company that specializes in this particular niche market because we understand, like you said, a Billy Ripken error card or a Michael Jordan 86 Fleer, whether it's graded a 7, a 9, or a 10. Yep. When you call these other companies, you try and explain to them what you have and what you want to insure. The person on the other line has no idea what you're talking about. You paid what for a baseball bat, or you paid what for a card? So this was built by collectors for collectors. We understand the market. Like we understand the valuations of the cards, the grading, if it's photo matched, all the different ways cards are graded and how values are computed. So it's good to deal with a company that has an understanding of exactly what it is you want to insure. And we've tailored our coverage to meet what the collector is looking for. So we cover things like shipping or while cards are in transit. And it's not just cards, it's game used bats, bobbleheads, autographs. We run the whole gamut of sports memorabilia.
Is it sports memorabilia, collectibles, cards? I mean, I know that line can get gray at a certain area, and I don't want to put you on the spot. But you know, if I'm dealing with some ephemera or something that gets into a area, I assume that if it's above my limit, there's a conversation to be had to make sure that everything's covered appropriately.
You're correct. It is sports memorabilia. That's what we're covering, whether it's tickets, cards, Type 1 photos, trading. We cover trading cards that are not necessarily sports cards. We cover non-trading cards as well.
Okay.
So we definitely
so my Charizard first edition.
Correct.
Right. Okay. I wish I had a couple of those. And my son, meanwhile, my son's downstairs and going, Dad, is that the only Pokemon card you know?
Right. It's the only one I know.
Right. It's the only one that ever comes up with my clients.
Right.
You mentioned the shipping.
Right.
Every single person in this hobby has shipped at some point.
Right.
It is a pain point for everybody.
100%.
Okay. Can you break down what most people probably have as far as coverage, what we think we're getting, and then what you actually cover?
Right. So on the homeowner's policy, I don't know what carrier each individual has, but most of them will not cover shipping, the shipping of items. Our product does cover shipping. Now, again, a lot of people do buy the extra shipping through the post office or FedEx or USPS, but a lot of times they can't go up to the limit of the value that you're looking for. Or because of what it costs, you know, people will put half the value or what. And if something happens, they're going to get a small amount of money for it.
I was about to say the claim process, you're dealing with a government agency.
Exactly. And who knows, are they really going to pay you what a Joe Montana game used jersey is worth? Or is it going to be a retail Joe Montana jersey?
Right.
So And the other thing is how our product's priced. You're better off buying a policy from us than buying the coverage through the post office, because you ship 1 or 2 items a year, it's going to pay for the cost of the policy pretty much. I mean, our minimum policy is $25,000 of coverage, and that's going to run you about $14 a month. And we can go we have limits all the way up to 5 million. So,
I got to ask, yeah. I also saw that you offer 0 deductible policies.
Right. Correct.
So I know that the policy and the deductible, you got to find your comfort level between the two. But the option of either one is also a little bit unique.
Correct. So you could choose a 0 deductible, a $500 deductible, or a $1,000 deductible. Obviously, the higher the deductible, the lower the premium. But we're finding of the customers we've been onboarding, most people are going with the 0 deductible. They feel if they have a loss, they don't want to pay any extra money out of their pocket. However, if you choose a $500 deductible, when you do ship that item, you may want to buy $500 of coverage through the U.S. Postal Service to cover your deductible, and then the rest is covered under your stadium insurance policy. So that's always an option as well. It's really on your own comfort level and what you feel comfortable with as far as coming out of your pocket. And if you always have $500 or $1,000 available, you may choose a higher deductible.
Do you find that there's more memorabilia, cards, or do you not break it down and look at it like that? It doesn't, does it fall, all under the same tent for you guys? Because I'd be curious if people were, insuring more of the memorabilia and collectibles, or the individual slab cards, I would assume.
Yeah, so we don't break it down by category necessarily, but we're seeing right off the bat a lot of game used memorabilia of significant value people are buying insurance on. We do have cards. We're about 50-50 of cards and game used memorabilia right now going on the books, because there tends to be quite a bit of dollars spent on game used memorabilia lately, especially through all these auction houses. And there's a lot of shipping of game used bats back and forth that we're seeing. And those are a lot of the collectors that have been purchasing our coverage. I know I'm a big game used bat collector, and I used to freak out shipping things across the country in a bat tube. It was obvious what was in there. Right. And we're tracking every 2 minutes to make sure it gets there okay. But when building this product, now I have the peace of mind when I ship it that, hey, it's covered. If something happens, I'm okay.
Oh, I've written architectural plans on the side of the triangle. I've done everything. So it's better to know it's covered, without a doubt. When a dealer wants a policy, it's a large collection.
Right.
Do they have to do anything different than a regular collector? How does that separate?
Yeah, it's slightly different. Again, we just ask for a video up front to give us an idea as the scope of the dealer stock that dealer has. Not everything has to be in there, but if someone's buying a $2 million policy, we don't want to see 2 jerseys hanging on the wall and 1 box of cards. So we want to get a general idea as to the scope of that inventory. And then again, items that exceed a certain value, we'll want pictures of the front and back of those items. But it's a fairly simple process.
Do you find that dealers are coming to you more than you expected, less than you expected? Because I know that a lot of dealers, I don't want to say are old school, but there is a certain amount of risk that they do operate in, that I couldn't sleep at night if it were me. But I think the technology and the comfort level and the specialized policy, are you finding that you're turning some of those older dealers into customers?
We are. A lot of them love the shipping aspect of our product. That's the big reason why they're buying it. But we're getting a lot of conversions for dealers. The biggest thing we're finding is most people don't have insurance at all that are doing shows and everything else. It's absolutely crazy. And even the personal collectors, the coverage limits we're writing, the majority of them are from $500,000 to $1 million. So $500,000 to $1 million collection. And for the last 10, 20, 30 years, they haven't had any insurance. And we've all heard the horror stories that have happened, where they've lost one bat or a couple cards got stolen in the mail. In fact, I think I recall that you had an instance where you had some cards, some vintage cards stolen back in the day.
I'm sensitive to this topic because yes, I had my entire collection stolen.
Unbelievable.
And this was mid early 90s, so certainly no product out there, and it was on a homeowners coverage, and there was a marine rider and some limits raised and blah blah blah. But the bottom line was we had already made a claim or two claims as a household for the year. So another claim that we would have lost the coverage, or the policy would have gotten too expensive. Exactly the scenario that you described. So I never recouped anything off of that theft. And so I'm very, very sensitive to coverage. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you, because I preach what I believe, and you can't be overinsured.
Right. And the biggest thing is this product was designed. I mean, obviously we're running a business, but we wanted to protect collectors, but we also want to protect the hobby. The last thing you want to hear is that one of your peers had a house fire, for example, lost their whole collection. It wasn't insured. And what happens is that individual leaves the hobby. There's no way they could build what they had before, because these cards or these pieces of memorabilia have gotten so expensive. But if they had insurance and we gave them a check for $50,000 or $100,000, whatever their coverage limit was, they're going to spend that money back in the hobby. So it keeps the money in the ecosystem. It's good for all of us that we do that. It helps keep a healthy hobby going, but we're also fighting against fraud too. So we have built into our system, there's some fraud checks that we do. It just keeps it brings more stability to the hobby. And the last thing, like I said, is don't want to see someone not have coverage. I mean, I saw kids walking around the National, not kids, but younger adults.
Sure.
And they have their card cases or their Zion cases with $100,000, $200,000 in cards.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you guys have those insured? And they're like, no. I was like, do you insure your car? Yes. Is that worth more than your car? Yes. Like, are you guys crazy? And what they do is at the end of the show, they go up to their room, they put their card box in their room, and they go out to dinner. I mean, it's absolutely crazy that people don't have coverage on these collectibles.
And I've gone to enough shows. I hate to say it. You hear the stories about theft in cars in the parking lot, in the hotel rooms. And actually, that's a question for dealers that drive from state to state. Is their collection covered only when they're at home, or how does that work?
Yeah, we cover the collection while it's in transit as well. So shipping and transit is covered under our policy.
So if I set up at different shows in different areas, it doesn't matter.
Correct. Okay. And then on our mobile app for personal collectors, we cover multi-locations. So if you have a couple of pieces hanging in your office at work, and then you have some items at home, through the mobile app, we allow you to, you're able to put that you have a multi-locations where your collection is stored, so you don't run into any issues there. I mean, it's really easy to navigate the mobile app. It's just like you said, with technology nowadays, there's no reason that most insurance products aren't sold through a mobile app or direct to consumer. It keeps the costs down, but most people want to be empowered to make decisions of when they want to increase, decrease, or their coverage. Or like I said, if you buy items on the weekend and you're leaving a show, you're not going to get a hold of your insurance agent on a weekend, most likely, or they're going to want you to fax documentation. By having this right here on a mobile app in your hand, in 2 seconds, you can have it covered and have that peace of mind.
So what are the requirements for actually signing up and getting coverage?
Yeah, very simple. So basically what you do is you go to our website, or you go to the mobile app. There's about maybe 10 questions tops that will give you a quote with 3 options of deductibles. Choose the deductible that fits you best. Once you choose that coverage, we ask you 4 underwriting questions. Have you had any claims? Have you ever been convicted of a felony? There's a few underwriting questions we have there, about 4 questions. And then you can purchase the coverage immediately. And then what you do is there's an onboarding process where we take a picture, or we have you take a picture of your driver's license front and back. And then the next page, you take a quick video of your collection, and then you're covered, and you just go about adding items that exceed 10% of the total coverage amount. So it's super simple. I mean, in a matter of minutes, you can be covered.
And I'm doing the math. If the minimum policy is $25,000 in coverage, that's a $2,500 minimum, which is very reasonable. You're not taking pictures all day.
Right. No, not
I mean, which is the key. You're taking it of the important things that you want to make sure are covered, and everything else is covered.
Right. And so if you had one item, let's say your collection consists of one or two items. Let's say you buy a $25,000 card and that's all you have. You buy a $25,000 limit. You take a picture of the front and back of that card. You're covered, and that's one card. But if you have miscellaneous pieces and only one item exceeds 2,500, you just take a picture of the one card. Or if everything's under 2,500, you don't have to worry about taking any photos of anything. Just do the original video that we took when we onboarded you as a customer.
How do you handle the prices changing on the cards and memorabilia? I mean, as we speak now, we're in a correction and adjustment, or whatever we call it. We lived through, a crazy period that I've never seen, since the junk wax era. And I'm actually bullish on the next 18 months. So how do you handle the ups and downs as far as the coverage?
Yeah. So the good thing about our product is claims are settled on an actual cash value basis. It's what the item is worth at the time of the loss. So you bought a Patrick Mahomes card for $20,000, and for whatever reason, let's say he gets injured or they're out of the playoffs, and the card value starts to decrease. We're not going to pay the $20,000 that you paid for it. We're going to pay whatever the card's worth at the time of the loss. However, if you buy like a Brock Purdy card, for example, and you paid $500 and the Niners win the Super Bowl, and that's a $5,000 card, we'll pay what that card's worth at the time of the loss. But again, you got to be aware of the threshold of whatever your limit is. So if you think that card's reaching that threshold, make sure you go in and take a picture of it, and that it's added to the high value items on your policy.
I'm not sure exactly when somebody might be watching this, but the my Baltimore Ravens will be playing on Christmas night, Monday Night Football, against the San Francisco 49ers.
I'm sorry.
So I don't think you need to worry about investing in Brock Purdy. I think that's not going to be too much of an issue.
Yeah, don't put any money on that, though.
Let me tell you something. Totally aside from everything, maybe the best Monday Night Football game I can remember waiting for in a long time. I mean, boy, is it fun to be a football fan right now. And you're talking about the cards going up and down, and it's really a reflection of what happens on the field. Exactly. So the idea that if somebody does perform above, and that's why a lot of people buy cards. You hope they go up in value.
Exactly.
And the idea that there is some built-in checks and balances for that makes logical sense, but that's not how most policies work.
Right. And the bottom line that most people think that this isn't an investment, sports memorabilia, but it is a holder of value, and it does increase, it does decrease. There's no reason you shouldn't have insurance on that. Like I said, you buy insurance on your house, you buy insurance on your car. A lot of these collections are worth more than your house or your car. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It just doesn't make sense why people don't protect these assets, especially when they're stolen easily, or if there's a fire, it could be very difficult, to recoup that money. And like I said, with the technology nowadays, it's so easy to obtain insurance and it's affordable. We really think it's a great product for the hobby.
So let's real quick. Let's say that I would have had stadium insurance in 1990, whatever. What is the claims process actually?
Right. So what happens is it's real simple. It's through our mobile app. You go on the mobile app. There's a spot for claims. They ask you what type of claim it is. Then there's a box to put a brief description as to what the items were that were lost or damaged. And then if it's one of the high value items, you can click which items that you're claiming. Oh. And then the email goes to our claims department, and a claims adjuster will give you a call within 24 to 48 hours to start the process of the claim and go over what exactly was, whether it was damaged in a fire or if it was stolen, what exactly the items were. And we start the process of evaluating the valuation of each item. and make sure that we get you compensated correctly for the loss.
That's outstanding. Stadiuminsurance.com, and the mobile app is available on iOS.
Correct. Yeah. So we're in the App Store, Android. We do it all. You should no problem downloading the mobile app. And you can go through no obligation quote. You just go in and start the process. In literally 3 minutes, you can have a quote and have an idea as to what the cost is and see if it fits in your budget. But I think if you're a serious collector nowadays with these values, definitely need to protect your collection.
Well, you brought it up. I was gonna get to it. I could not feel more strongly about collections being protected as I have had my entire hobby journey changed by it. So for everybody out there, this is not a paid ad. This is me doing something that I think is important and getting that message out to the hobby. I love what you said that if somebody who's reimbursed, reinvest in the hobby. And we really are one ecosystem. And this is really just another way of supporting each other and keeping the hobby strong.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. If people want to follow you on social media, what is the handle on social media?
So it's at Stadium Insurance. That's our Instagram. You can go to our website, stadiuminsurance.com. And then, like you said, the mobile app's in the App Store. You can download the app anytime. So you're able to access Stadium, get more information on our company through any of those channels.
And guys, Dan is an absolute collector and fan. So don't be afraid to brag about what you're having covered. I know he'll get a kick out of it.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
All right. Dan, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I'll see you in the green room.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. To everyone else, we'll catch you next time.